Just fucking do it. Subscribe now.
You know, it came up to the conversation in which they were literally burning money like crazy, and the CFO said, "Look, we don't feel comfortable with it, but that's how it goes with companies in cyber," and that kind of turned on a light bulb because I was going on with
enterprise value.
Exactly.
It's not brick and mortar.
And so that was the takeaway, and you're absolutely right. I need to be cognizant of, you know, the hard questions that the board is going to ask, and how do I structure it and how do I pitch it is going to be critical. But all valid points. I've written a few.
Just stop a second. It's not really the structure; it's your pitching that will sell it. Because I've sold, and probably Roberto as well, has sold pigs just by putting lipstick on it. And it's how you frame it.
That's right.
And so it's not so much the structure. Remember, it's your words that you come out of your mouth and what they see. Yeah. So.
What about how it fits into the overall picture as well with the rest of what you're looking at as well?
My big picture?
Yeah.
100% what Roberto says is the upside. How would this company complement the subsequent acquisitions? And so, in my mind, is if we acquire a file sharing company and a service, cybersecurity service company, right, that does pen testing, audits, etc. Where's the synergy in that? So, yes, it looked attractive from the outside. Now that I have financials and I have more, if they're accurate, I have more or less of a notion that it may be a good candidate. The big picture, as we keep talking here, is what the exit strategy is. The current conversation that I have with the COO is creating a roadmap that, depending on the first acquisition, would give us some guidance as to what the subsequent acquisitions would look like, if that makes sense. Kind of like, okay, after this first acquisition, what is the subsequent? And it's going to be critical with some of the multiples that we're looking at.
Before we get into that more, just write, because I'm going to forget this, write down this name. It's outsourcing marketing CMO. Use them. And fucking blockbusters. I don't recommend companies that often, and probably a third of what it would cost me to do an internal.
COO?
CMO marketing.
Where are they located?
Bay headquartered in Chicago, but they, you know.
Is this to try and bring the operating expenses down?
Bring the operating expenses down and improve their marketing substantially, in year one.
So Dan, just before you walked in, the pros and cons, or some notes on the company that based on so first of all, this is a company based out of Annapolis, Maryland. They are into the business of file sharing, privacy, security. They cater to some government agencies, schools.
U.S. government?
Yes. U.S. Postal Service. It's very relevant to the current state of affairs, security, file sharing, etc. All other big players are doing it, the Googles, the Amazons, but they have a niche within their own sector, right? Their own sector that they've been operating since 2001. I've reached out to the business owners, LinkedIn, email, both. They came back with a broker. A broker was the one who reached me and provided me, I signed an NDA and provided me with some financials that we're assuming are correct. In the discussion here, we're pointing out some of the pros and cons. They have a perpetual license, which is volatile, according to Roberto. I need to be cognizant. I need to discuss that with the board to see how that may or may not affect us. They have approximately 44% of recurring revenue, which is not bad. 2.1 million in annual revenue, which translates to 1.7x. And projected EBITDA of $400,000, which translates to 7.5x. They're asking for $3.5 million, which, again, based on us inquiring more information about what makes them any different from any other players, we can negotiate that down low. Again, me learning about how technology companies work, I think there's room for us to pursue this with the board. And it's going to.
When you say recurring revenues are 44%, about, right? Okay, now is that one month contract, 1 year
That's
contract.
what I said. Yes, you can get
That's
this quality
not fun,
verdict
yeah.
based on the contract. It's
Yeah.
contracts, etc. Also, an attrition rate over the last 3 years of those contracts to make sure that they're sticky year in, year out.
Yeah. Because people that have government contracts, a 3-year contract, they want to sell their 3-year contract in the 30th month. And they guarantee, we're going to get it the next time. Don't worry about it, which is normally crap.
Also, another point that I brought up is they're having a Class A building that they rent out in Maryland and it ends in October of 2020. With some of these tech companies, or rather cybersecurity, what I'm learning by just talking with business owners is that the business can move, right? They're not anchored to a particular region or fixed to a particular state. So obviously, if another candidate that I have is out of Florida, if I could potentially have this as a secondary or tertiary deal, as we spoke, that would be ideal for me. Obviously, negotiating with the business owners if they can take a pay cut and participate on the upside with view of maintaining those milestones or meeting those milestones along the lines again of how we structure that deal. Yes, again with my understanding of how I pitched this, but they were unsuccessful between 2016, 17, and 18 with some marketing that they did. They spent a lot of money in marketing, and it didn't work. So their projected financials have kind of like plateaued. It doesn't have that hockey stick projection that we were looking for. But again, me learning here, but just talking to Roberto and the rest of the group, some of these tech companies.
Now, who are these nerd techies?
They seem to be programmers.
Yeah, they're techies. No business people, product people, service people.
Okay.
So they want.
Well, that's good news, but it's also good the bad news because they're living in Disneyland. I mean,
you have to control them.
Yeah, I mean they are in the cloud. But anyway, instead of at least if you have one business guy in the group, well, shit, that doesn't make sense,
Mm-hmm.
So, but they want out.
They want to transition. They want to stay on board and grow, keep on growing.
So they want part of your cloud to be part of the big overall picture.
Yes.
They
also claim to have resellers across different countries. They do have intellectual property, which by me consulting with the external lawyer, those assets will be rolled on to subsequent acquisitions.
Okay, now when you say that the transition, so they want money, they want to stay and be part of a bigger picture.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So now the key is, how much of that wanting to stay is translated into owner's equity, would this be, have you seen the tax returns yet?
Not yet.
Okay, well you need to see the tax returns because the numbers.
That's where you get the expense breakdown.
Yeah, plus or minus, if they're 5-10% within the tax returns, the numbers are probably legit. But I mean, the broker, especially the broker's numbers, he put them together with this, at the last seminar, we had the lowest form of salesperson in the world is called a landman. He sells land. He leases land for you to come and drill on. And he normally sells it to 5, 10, 15 times because the odds of making a well are 1 in 5,000. So, I mean, that's how Bunker Hunt's dad, the old man Hunt, he sold the well 60 times that brought in the West Texas oil field in West Texas, and the fucking came in. So he ran around all of Texas and Oklahoma trying to buy the interest back before they found out that it came in. Okay, but we had a landman here. And, I mean, that makes a used car salesman look like an angel.
So they sell the same piece of land
over and over.
Over and over.
Because they know it's not going to make a well. So you got to get the numbers. But a broker is just above them, is my point. Although there's no qualifications to be a business broker. There's nothing. There's no affiliation. There's no tests or accreditation. There's nothing.
What were you saying though? Just
I said the minor league investment bankers.
Yeah.
Minor league,
Yeah, and that's actually giving them more credit than they do.
In your experience, they obviously pull equity out of the deal, right?
No, they get paid by the seller. Okay, but let's say that the number that you said their asking price is 3.5.
that's what they do.
I bet I'm willing to bet the best dinner in Manhattan that is not the price that the sellers gave him.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably $2.5 million or some other number because he gets 5 or 7 or 10% of every penny that he gets. So if he may have made a deal with the seller, I'll give you 2.8 million. I'll keep whatever.
I've heard that
I think it's
sometimes they do
1.2x.
double escrow,
I think 1.2x.
and they tell the vendor a different price than
Absolutely.
what the purchaser wants to purchase, and then they keep the difference.
Yeah.
Because this is
You're not talking to fellow jarheads here where they would lie to you,
There you go.
Yeah.
there's no math for Marines here. So this is the second deal that coincidentally is provided via broker. The one that I feel strongly about is not is a one person thick, and the intent is to keep on growing. Again, a question for you was we keep speaking of hub and spoke.
Correct.
And ideally, obviously, if this is in Maryland, I wouldn't want to have a company in Florida and worry about management in Maryland. So that's why I'm thinking about the transition of these companies again within that radius, right? We spoke about was it a 100-mile radius?
No, 2 hour, 3 hour drive. Well, one of the other guys in one of the other seminars,